Hi everyone, so welcome to another video. Today I am in Reforma, Mexico City, and I just wanted to show you this neighborhood. Um, well, Reforma is not actually a neighborhood, it's more like a very long street that crosses multiple neighborhoods, but it's definitely the most symbolic street that there is in Mexico City. And I just kind of like wanted to show you what the vibe is like, and yeah, and I mean show you how the street looks like, all the different stores that there are along the street that you can visit, and also just the different landmarks that there are along this very long street. So right now I'm outside of the National Auditorium, and it's very funny because actually you can see a lot of stuff always happening here, like that limousine over there. I'm not sure if you can look, if you can see it. That limousine over there, yeah, they have a quinceañera, and as you can see, well, there are double-decker buses here, just London style, and there goes another limousine that people usually rent out for quinceañeras. So that's actually very bizarre. But but yeah, something that's not unusual to see here. So that one over there is the National Auditorium. It's like, I would say, the most important place where concerts and like all sorts of different events take place in Mexico. That's why it's called the National Auditorium. And well, it's actually very big in the inside. But right now there's nothing going on, so there's no people outside. And as you can see, it's just a very long street. And a funny story or a fun fact about this street is that actually Carlota. So once upon a time, Mexico was an empire, and when this empire took place, they brought a monarch from Austria, whose name was Maximiliano, and then his wife was Carlota, and she was the she was the queen cohort. And then so famously, Carlota ordered for Reforma to be built so that she could see when Maximiliano was on his way home. And actually, I'm getting closer to the auditorium, and I'm gonna show you the architecture from the outside. I'm just waiting a little bit until like I can cross the street. Yeah, this is what Reforma looks like, and this, as I told you, was built. So like, if you're in Chapultepec is it's a very big area of the city. It's kind of like Central Park, but there used to be a castle there. It's actually 2 times the size of Central Park, but before there was a castle over there, and that's where the head of state used to live. So it was the house of Maximiliano and Carlota, and then it was the house of multiple presidents until Lázaro Cárdenas, which is a president that was in charge of that office around the 1930s. He decided to move the presidential residence over to Los Pinos, which is another very fancy residence. But just this last president, López Obrador, he decided to change yet again the residency of the president to Palacio Nacional, so the National Palace, which actually is the place where Hernán Cortés, no, not Hernán Cortés, sorry, where so kind of like they're called virreyes, but there's not an exact translation for that. but it's kind of like the representation of the king in Mexico. So the virrey was the representation of the king of Spain in Mexico, and he used to live there, and now the president lives there, and it's a national palace. It's also very fancy and very bougie, but yeah, I mean, in reality, all three of them are really fancy. It's just I don't know. Presidents like to pretend that they're doing stuff and that they're being that they're saving money when in reality they are not. It's just a facade, but yeah, I mean that's the way it is. And now I'm actually crossing the street, so we're not supposed to cross the street right now, although a lot of the times people don't really obey the rules here. You can see over there's another very symbolic building of this area. It's in the shape of a Dorito, and people actually call it that, the Dorito. It's just offices, and then another double decker over there. And as you can see, people are crossing even though they're not supposed to do that. And yeah, you can see how there's this very, very long trail that goes all along Reforma. And something funny about Reforma is that actually during the weekends, people come here and with their bicycles, and they just ride along Reforma, because during the weekend this street is closed to cars, so it's pedestrians only and bikes. And yeah, so I actually really like these buses. In the beginning it wasn't very practical, because like they could bump on things like that, because the city wasn't built having into consideration that there were going to be buses this tall running along Reforma. But in the end they adapted the streets and now they work. And that's the Metrobus, which is actually very reliable. So you can see how right outside the auditorium there are like all different types of stands of people selling stuff. And yeah, to be honest, if you are not from here, I wouldn't recommend that you eat food in one of those places, because to be honest, they are not that hygienic. Like, I don't even like eating in those places myself, and the food is also not that good, so you're not missing out. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of like come here and show you the architecture. It's very modern. This is actually not an old building, but it's like a lot of people can fit in there, and there has been a lot of different events. Famously, I remember when One Direction came here, and also Rosalia was here just recently. So yeah, I mean, it's a very important place for culture. And yeah, you can see over there kind of like the concerts that are coming up. Melendi, Kevin Carl, and Drake. Melendi is a singer from Spain. I don't know Kevin Carl, and then Drake. They are singers from Mexico. And then yeah, I mean, I think the architecture is really nice. And then right across the street, you can see some very important hotels. Like there is the Presidente Intercontinental right there, which is, well, I remember that when Barack Obama came a few years ago, he stayed there. And then that other hotel over there, I don't know which one it is, but it's also very fancy for sure. And that one over there is a Marriott. And yeah, I mean, they're just across the street. So that neighborhood over there is Polanco, and it's well, it's the most high-rise neighborhood in Mexico City, like the most exclusive one, and that's where there's lots of designer shops like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, Salvatore Ferragamo, and yeah, all of that. And yeah, so oh look, the Philharmonic of Los Angeles is going to be here, and I don't know that person about over there, but yeah, I mean, it's famous because I'm actually impressed, because usually I could guess that, because today's a Saturday, so I could guess that normally there would be some sort of event going on, but apparently there's nothing going on. And that one over there is the Turibus. That's not public transit, that's actually kind of like a tour that you can take, and then you get on the bus and they show you all kind of like the most important parts of the city, city tour. You can see that over there, and yeah, it's a double-decker as well, and yeah, so that's basically it. There is a subway station not far from here, like a few steps away. You literally can get up the subway and then it leaves you right here. It's called Auditorium. That's the station, or Auditorio, and yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to bring that up because, as you know, I always like to kind of like talk about how walkable the place is, and I mean, if you live here, it's definitely walkable. Regarding affordability, it's if you want to buy a house here, I don't think that's very feasible, because a lot of the houses are like incredibly expensive. I'm not joking, like you can find houses from 1 to 2 million US dollars, which is not a small amount of money, and yeah, but if you want to live here, you definitely can rent. That's much more affordable. You probably can find an apartment from anywhere to probably $800, $1,000 a month, and of course a one bedroom or a room. It depends, because even within the neighborhood, like, prices vary a lot. So so that's something to have in mind. And there's a subway station right there, which is Auditorio right there, and as you can see, there's also taxis and all sorts of stuff. So that was the first stop in our walk today, and in a little bit I'm gonna show you what's next. Okay, so now we're outside Chapultepec, and Chapultepec is, as I told you, the biggest urban park in Mexico. And there's a section that is like a Korean section. As you can see, they have this little Korean kiosk, and it's very nice. And also, you can see that it's the Pabellon Coreano right over there. I'm gonna get a little bit closer so that we actually can read what's on that sign. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, on the inside, really the highlight of this place is the kiosk, because there's not really a lot of impressive things, but it's nice. So it says, this pavilion is a copy of the historical pavilion from the park of the pagoda in the city of Seoul in Korea, in which the Declaration of Korean Independence was read. The Korean people gives this symbol. The Korean people presents this as a gift, as a symbol of the spirit of their independence to the Mexican people, as a sign of the friendship that brings them together. March 8th, 1968, and yeah, so that basically was a gift from the Korean people to Mexico, and that's a copy of a park in Seoul where the independence of Korea was read. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, right now we're just walking along Reforma, and something interesting is that there's always some sort of exposition going on here, and this is like a photography exposition, and it's called Chapultepec by Bob Shalkwick, I guess. I don't really know how to pronounce that, but yeah, it's a photography exposition, and there's usually always something like this going on. And as you can see, there are like all different sorts of nice photographs along. So like, yeah, Reforma is actually a very nice place to have walks. And then like a lot of this is actually Mexico City many years ago. It's one of the main highways of Mexico City. I don't know if you call it like that, but it's called Viaducto now, and it's always crowded with a lot of cars during rush hours. I don't think that's different from any other major city. But yeah, there's always some sort of exposition going on. And so if you're considering to live here, I think you can never go wrong with this area, especially because there's also Polanco there, so there's always something to do. There's a lot of restaurants over there, a lot of different clubs and places to have fun with your friends. And yeah, and if you are more kind of like a nature person, there's also Chapultepec, which we can see right there. That's Chapultepec. So like, I mean, you can see it's still very green, even though it's already fall. It's like very green, and yeah, that's right in the middle of the city. Like literally, there is a forest, and then if you turn around, there is a city, and then huge skyscrapers. But yeah, that's one of the interesting things about Reforma. And also, you know, because it's the main kind of like street of Mexico, usually a lot of protests take place along this street, sadly. But yeah, I mean, it's not as usual, but it happens, and it's not unusual either. So it's not like it's not like, you know, like every week or so. It's like more like probably once every 2 months, but it happens. And when that happens, the city goes crazy. But on the other hand, if you live here, you probably don't need to drive, so that wouldn't be much of an issue, because as I told you, there's everything here. The only thing that the only thing that I don't like a lot is, like, as you know, usually in Mexico, like, there are all sorts of different tianguis, which is like farmers markets, and then they sell like fresh produce and all sorts of stuff. They sell food, and yeah, and I love buying at those places, shopping at those places, because they usually have all you need, and everything is much more fresh, and it's also much more cheap. So I really like buying in those places, shopping in those places. And well, this is actually a picture of the inside of the Chapultepec Castle. That's the inside of it. It's actually very beautiful. I hope I can show you next time. Because next time I'm planning on coming here, like on the inside, and showing you the inside of Chapultepec. But there's just so much to do. Well, there's even a zoo in here, so there's hippos and pandas and all sorts of different animals. There's a camel there, but yeah, I mean, the only thing I don't like about this area is that there's not a lot of tianguis, which I believe are good places to get your stuff, but to get your groceries. But that's not too bad because there's also a lot of grocery stores in all the neighborhoods. So like you can go walking to this grocery store and then like get what you need. And also kind of like the pros of not having so many tianguis here is that tianguis are usually very loud and very crowded. So if you are a person who doesn't like noise or who doesn't like crowds, then that's a good thing. But on the other side, there's also the National Auditorium right there. So yeah, I mean, if you, I mean, I don't know, like it has both sides of the coin. Like there's also noise over there because there's concerts and everything, right? So that's the other part that I wanted to show you about the Reforma, and I'll see you in a bit to show you the next part.